There are things in this world that absolutely should not exist, not because they're fake, not because they're exaggerated, but because they don't make sense. They break rules. They ignore logic. They feel like glitches that somehow slip through reality's quality control. And the weirdest part, they're real, documented, studied, and still confusing. By the end of this video, you're going to realize that reality works, but it definitely doesn't explain itself. Let's start with something simple. You have probably never actually touched anything in your life. No, I'm not joking. Not metaphorically. Physically, you've never touched anything. When you press your hand against a table, what you're feeling is electromagnetic force. The atoms in your skin are being repelled by the atoms in the table. There is always a tiny, invisible space between you and everything else. So when people say, get in touch with reality, you literally can't. And it gets even weirder. Solid objects. They aren't actually solid. They are mostly empty space. If you could somehow remove all the empty space from every single atom in the human race, the entire population of Earth could fit inside a single sugar cube. Think about that. The only reason the world looks and feels solid is because of invisible forces working overtime to keep everything from collapsing into a tiny speck. Our reality is basically held together by polite agreements between particles. Now let's talk about time. Because time does not behave the way you think it does. Did you know there are clocks on Earth that tick at slightly different speeds depending on where they are? Clocks at higher altitudes, like on top of a mountain, literally run faster than clocks at sea level. Not symbolically, not theoretically, actually faster, which means if you live on a mountain, you are aging a tiny bit quicker than someone living at the beach. Congratulations, your holiday destination is deciding how fast you decay. And time gets even stranger than that. There are places out there in the universe, near massive objects like black holes, where time slows down so much that minutes for you would be years for someone else. This isn't science fiction. It's not something from a movie. It's just physics being extremely uncooperative with our common sense. Okay, now for something that just sounds fake. There are rocks on Earth that move all by themselves. No motors, no strings attached, no people pushing them. In certain dry lake beds, these massive stones slide across the desert floor, leaving long trails behind them as proof. We've watched them do it. We have the footage, but we still don't fully understand why it happens. The planet is casually moving its own furniture around and refusing to explain how. Let's move on to sound. Sound doesn't actually exist as a physical thing. It's just vibrations traveling through matter, through air, water, or solids, which means in the vacuum of space, there is no sound at all, no epic explosions, no dramatic booms, no classic sci-fi laser noises, just complete and total silent chaos. Space is the loudest place imaginable, filled with cosmic events that you will never, ever hear. And how about cold? Cold isn't real either. It's not a thing that exists. Cold is just the absence of heat. It's not something being added to a room. It's something missing from it. So when you're freezing, you're not being attacked by the cold. You're simply being robbed of your thermal energy. Reality isn't hostile. It's just kind of rude. Now let's get a little uncomfortable. Everything around you, right now, is constantly vibrating. I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean it literally. Even objects that look perfectly still, your desk, your chair, the floor beneath you are shaking at the atomic level. Nothing ever fully stops moving, which means the concept of stillness doesn't actually exist in the physical world. The universe simply refuses to sit still for a single moment. And here's a fun one to think about. There are objects in space that are older than the Earth itself. Not older than human civilization. Not older than the dinosaurs. I mean older than the entire planet you are standing on. These ancient stars and galaxies existed long before Earth was formed. Before our oceans. Before continents. Before anything you would ever recognize as home. The universe didn't start with us. We just showed up very, very late to the party. Think about this the next time you look up at the night sky. The light you see from distant stars left those stars before humans even existed. In fact, some of the stars you see in the sky might have already burned out and died millions of years ago. You're literally looking at ghosts. Reality lets you observe the distant past and just pretends that's completely normal. And maybe the strangest part of all this, everything works. Despite all of these contradictions, despite all the weird, nonsensical rules, the universe functions with incredible, unbelievable precision, all while making absolutely no logical sense to us. It doesn't care if you understand it. It doesn't slow down to explain itself. It just keeps going. If this video made you pause, laugh, or quietly question how any of this could possibly be real, then subscribe. BrainShock isn't just about one topic. It's about exploring all those moments where reality feels slightly broken. Because the more you learn about existence, the clearer it becomes. Reality isn't simple. It's just familiar. And once you start to notice that, everything feels a little different. Comment below which one of these facts mess with you the most. This was BrainShock. Thanks for watching.